Aliens, an in-depth look at horror and sci-fi TV from two friends who vaguely know what they're doing. I'm Courtney.
And I'm MK.
And how are ya?
You know, I'm exhausted.
Same.
But I am so good. So yesterday was my first day of new teacher training for my new job. And it has been a very overwhelming 2 days because I have just had a lot of information thrown at me and like a lot of new computer sites to figure out, and like we have a mentor program and we have all of these, like, this is the like discipline system that this district uses, and it's all stuff that like right now I feel like I'm gonna pass out and die.
Sure, yeah.
I'm sure like once I'm actually like in the classroom it will not feel any different really than what I've been doing, but right now I'm just like, oh my god, I don't know what I'm doing. And it was weird because this morning we watched a video about imposter syndrome and I was like, does not help to watch the video, promise you, still feel it, like but so yesterday was my first day, and yesterday was also the whole reason that Courtney is here in person in my house right now, because we went to see Avril Lavigne and Simple Plan.
I've had so many dreams come true in the past week that like I am just on cloud nine.
But we got home at 1 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
and then I had to work again. And now it is 1 a.m. and we're recording the podcast, and I have to work again in the morning, but also take Courtney to the airport at 3:45.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm doing and tomorrow's my first day back at Shays for the season, on top of also working in the daytime. So I'm thriving.
I love that. I love to hear that.
I cried during the Avril concert. This will be my third time seeing Avril, but the first time I saw her was when she first went back on tour after having had Lyme disease and really bad Lyme flare up in 2013. So she like did a really short, truly just opening act set because she didn't have the stamina to do a full set. So while it was amazing, it was like not what she was normally capable of, because it was her first tour post disease. I mean, not that the disease doesn't go away, but, and then the second time I saw her, I missed most of her set because of fucking Cleveland and the parking there. So I saw her sing like 2 songs.
Yeah.
So this time was the first time that like I really saw her, and it was her greatest hits tour. So it was just 17 straight songs of me screaming.
I'm shocked I can speak today.
I know. I was really nervous that we were going to record 3 episodes and neither one of us were going to have a voice.
My throat hurt so bad though when we got home last night and when I woke up this morning.
Oh no, I literally, I was just like chugging hot tea at work today because I could not speak.
Yeah. I was just up all day.
No, my mentor though, because I met my new mentor for my mentor program, her name is Katie, and I was talking, like we had been talking, and I told her, she knew I went to the concert last night, and then so when we ended work like a half hour early today, and she goes, go take a nap. And I was like, oh, that's the plan.
Yeah.
So, how are you?
I am just thriving. I am doing great. It's been a weird 6 months, but everything has been great. It's my first time in Buffalo, so I've been trying to do like all the Buffalo things. So yesterday while Mary Kate was at work, me and Rachel went out to Niagara Falls, and we got to see like the waterfall and get sprayed with it and whatnot. And we like power walked down the trails because we had a limited time to be there from when we parked the car and put a parking meter sign on it. So we were limited. We did like the Hard Rock because she always gets her husband a little pin from Hard Rock, and so we did that. We wandered around, we went to Duff's, which is around the corner, and had beef on weck and hot wings. So we could say we did all of those things. And of course the concert, I've been in love with both Avril Lavigne and Simple Plan for 20 years. And so it was just...
Both of them mentioned that their first singles came out 22 years ago, and I literally wanted to vomit.
Yeah, it was the wildest thing. Like,
I can't believe how old we are.
I know.
Well, Tokyo Hotel this week was their 19th anniversary of their first single. So, like, I've been listening to Avril for 22 years. I've been listening to Tokyo Hotel for 19 years. And we took a test and I'm probably not autistic. But I've had the same favorite musicians for 2 decades, and I don't listen to, like, I don't get new artists.
Yeah.
Like, I just never stop listening to them, and every time they're like, oh, it's an anniversary, I go, no, because you can't get older.
I think that's the anxiety. I think anxiety does that for you.
The feeling old about it part is probably the anxiety,
Keeping the same artist because it's comforting.
It's not about comfort.
It is.
I don't know. I don't think it is. I think it's just that I know everything about them.
Which is comforting because then you don't have to learn more about new things.
But I love learning new things.
I know. I do. I'm the same way though. Mine's the anxiety. So, so it was just so magical and so amazing. I, however, did not really go to sleep after that. I then took Rachel to the airport at 4:30 this morning. Which is why I thought I had to be at the airport at 4:30 this morning, and I was wrong. My flight is an hour before her flight was this morning. But it's just been so weird. I've knocked 3 things off my bucket list in a week, which is very strange. I saw the Bean, I did the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and Niagara Falls within 8 weeks' time.
Yeah.
And it's just so surreal to me. Like, I never quit your job. Always quit your job. That is my new philosophy in life. Find another one, make sure you're paying your bills, but, like,
yeah,
it's nice. I don't work in any normal way that makes sense. I work at weird hours all the time, but...
Speaking of, like, bucket list things, though, my mortgage was also approved this week.
Yes! See, so many... what a good week. What a good week we've had.
Yeah.
So I've had a great time being in Buffalo. It was really great to, like, decompress and be around, like, family people. Like, I didn't have to, like, Mary Kate abandoned me and went nap, and I was hung out with her sister and her dad, like, because I know them, and they're, like, it was fine. And so, it just feels like a breath of fresh air. And not that Rachel's doesn't. Rachel's does too. I just haven't been there. I haven't been there. I've been everywhere else since then.
Yeah.
So, I'm ready for my week of working 72 hours a day to pay my bills, and then I'm gone again. So.
When do you leave again?
The 29th.
I have questions, but I'll ask them after.
Okay.
Yeah.
A week from tomorrow.
No. I know when the 29th is because I also have things happening on the 29th.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We'll follow up after.
Yeah.
But so that's how I am, and that's how you are. And you know what makes us even better sometimes worse, but sometimes better? Spirituality.
Yeah. Well, we're on season 2 of Grey's Anatomy, guys. We made it to season 2. This one's so surgical. It's fine. To be a good surgeon, you have to think like a surgeon. Emotions are messy. Tuck them neatly away and step into a clean, sterile room where the procedure is simple. Cut, suture, and close. But sometimes you're faced with a cut that won't heal. A cut that rips its stitches wide open.
Fair.
Yeah.
Take out the surgical part. Leave in the emotional part.
Talk about emotions are messy, and sometimes shit sucks and it opens you up.
And sometimes it's for the best, and sometimes it sucks anyways.
Yeah.
So, like, our emotions from this.
Oh my god.
In this episode that is Hannibal, season 2, episode 6.
This episode is why we're recording at 1 o'clock in the morning.
It is indeed.
It took a lot to process and get ready to podcast after finishing it.
Yeah. It is called Furamona, which is soup.
Yay.
It says, this is generally soup. That's what it said. I was like,
generally soup.
Like, I don't really know what that means, but we're just gonna say it's soup. It aired April 4th of 2014. It was also rated 9.2 out of 10. We are just on a trajectory now. The number 1 song is Still Happy by Pharrell.
Because of course it is.
Yep. The number 1 movie is Captain America Winter Soldier, which is a great movie. And if you have not rewatched it since you watched it the first time, go rewatch it again, because I didn't care for it the first time I watched it in 2014-ish. And I rewatched it in like 2018-ish, and now I've watched it like 3 other times since, and I just love it. It's a great movie. The number one book is Missing You by Harlan Coben. And I still haven't read a Harlan Coben book, but I did watch a Harlan Coben TV show, and I don't remember which one, with my mom, and it was actually really well written and made a lot of sense, and I loved it. So now I feel like I should read some of his books.
That this weekend, on this day, this weekend, in 2014, it was the opening weekend for the first professional paid for show that I did after my degree that I also won an award for.
Oh, congrats. What did you win?
We have this thing called the Arties here, which is like our local version of the Tonys, and the show won best cast of a play.
Oh,
so
that's nice.
My uncle was the lighting designer, so we won it together.
That's so nice.
Yeah.
Well, other things that happened on this day.
Good. Probably not as nice.
David Letterman announced retirement.
I saw a taping of the David Letterman show live.
Yeah.
Because I'm that old. And no, it was only in like 2012 or 2013 though when I did it. But it was an episode where Billy Crystal was on. Or like the show Billy Crystal was the one who was there, and it was for the anniversary of The Princess Bride, and so he was like talking about like filming The Princess Bride and like stories about Andre the Giant and like Manny Patinkin and everything, and I was like,
this is the one I'm meant to be here for.
This is perfect. I was in like the second row.
Yeah. I've always been like meh on Billy Crystal, but I saw him in Mr. Saturday Night or Saturday Night, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Mr. Saturday Night.
Yeah.
And it was so good.
Yeah.
He did such a great job.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
He doesn't. The thing is, he's in a lot of hit or miss movies. Like either you like his movies or you don't. And like, if really the only thing you love him in is The Princess Bride and Monsters Inc., then you're probably not like a big fan of him.
Right.
But like I said, I mean, I was just watching him do like an interview, but like seeing him like just be a real person and have a conversation, I was like, no, like he's great.
Yeah. Yeah, I can get behind that. A lot of other things didn't happen, so I've picked some other things that happened on this day in different years.
Okay.
So 1 year prior, in 2013, is when Roger Ebert died.
Oh yeah, okay.
So everything after that is not actually him. And then also it is two people's birthdays in 1932. Both Anthony Perkins and Clive Davis were born on the same day.
Interesting.
Which is an interesting pairing, and Anthony Perkins died, but Clive Davis hasn't. Maybe vice versa. I've not
Anthony
forgotten.
Perkins is definitely not alive anymore.
Right. So Clive Davis is.
Okay. I was like, I don't know about Clive Davis, but I know for a fact Anthony Perkins is dead.
Yeah, I was like, I think we talked about this. That he died. Oh yeah, because he died right before I was born. Yeah, Clive Davis is still kicking at 92.
Good for him.
Music makes you live forever, except when it doesn't. It kills you very young.
Tell that to the 27 Club.
Right. Yeah. It's one or the other. One or the other. You are 27 or you are 90,000.
I mean, we did just see Gene Simmons.
Yeah, true. Our director is Tim Hunter. Our writers are Andy Black, Scott Nemurfro, and Steve Lightfoot. And our editor is Ben Wilkinson. So, a lot of the same crew we're used to seeing. There is, as mentioned in the last episode, not really anyone new here. Mm-hmm. So, there were only two other people even credited in this episode. And so one of them is Ted Lutzik, who plays the male nurse. He is known for Interstate 60, Mr. Megorium's Wonder Emporium, Resident Evil Apocalypse, and Outlander. And he also is known for, he was in one episode of Hemlock Grove. He was in, I think this is all I have on him, let me make sure. He was, in season 2, episode 1. And he just played the visitor. Not a huge role, but he is known for that role, it seems. Like, that was in his main bio. So I did mention it.
Season 2 episode.
That's when they started the culty stuff.
That's what I was about to ask.
Yeah.
Is it the culty stuff?
Mm-hmm.
So the visitor, is that the guy who talks to the children?
I think so.
Oh, okay. That's not very memorable.
He doesn't have a lot of memorable stuff. But he does. I did find his Instagram.
Yeah.
That I didn't think was his Instagram first, but don't worry, it is. It is just full of his dogs and cats.
Love it.
He has like one video on there where he's like auditioning for a commercial and acting silly, and everything else is like just his dogs and cats.
Great.
Which is lovely. They're very cute. He did put. Let me see if I can. I meant to save it. I don't think I did. But he had a picture So, yeah, see, it's just his dogs and his cats.
Yeah.
All over it. But then if you go down far enough, he has a picture of him beside, oh my gosh, what is his name? He plays, it's Ed from from the Family, oh my gosh, he's in Modern Family now.
Oh, Al Bundy, but not like
right.
What his real name? You guys know.
Ed O'Neill.
Yeah.
And so he posted that his lookalike was Ed O'Neill, and he said that he's pitching a new sitcom, Ed and Ted. And I thought that was hilarious.
Great.
So that's all there is about him. Not a lot of anything else, but he's thriving. So let's get into it.
All right.
We start with Hannibal playing music and writing music on his harpsichord.
Which is just the most pretentious instrument you could ever have.
Deb plays harpsichord. That's what she's trained in.
Who?
Deb, the bartender in New Orleans.
Yeah.
And she's like the most chill person you'll ever meet. It's like a very classical instrument.
Yeah, I know. Jill was trained in the harp.
Yeah.
Like, I get it. I just also feel like it's having a harpsichord in your house just feels pretentious.
I guess. But then we go to Will, and Jack has gone to visit him about Hannibal's attempted murder.
Yeah.
Obviously. And he's talking about it, and he's like, it's not, like, he was like, I'm leaning into, like, the happy anticipation of being content.
No, of having contempt.
Of having contempt. Sorry, I did write it down. And, because he's just, like, looking for this feeling that he keeps.
Yeah, he's, like, living in the angry space.
Yeah. And he starts talking again about Hannibal being the Ripper. And he's like, this is for real what's happening. You have to, like, pay attention. You have to, like, go after him or whatever. And Jack is, of course, all over the place with it. And then Will tells him, he's like, he kills these people, he eats them, and then he throws a dinner party.
And he was like, think about how all of the 4 or 5, every time the Ripper kills 4 or 5 people, Hannibal has a dinner party.
Yep.
And Jack's like, what are you talking about? He's like, you know it, you've eaten it.
Yep, he's like, we both have. He's like, we think about all the times that he's fed us. Then we go to Alana and Hannibal, and Hannibal's talking to her and telling her that he's like he's cooking a meal, and he's like, I've started having nightmares, and I didn't have those before I was captured.
She's also helping him prepare heart.
Yeah. Without, like, asking a lot of questions. Like, I'm having a lot of questions here.
I understand that, like, some people eat animal hearts and stuff, but, like, there are not a lot of animals that are edible that have a heart the same size as a human's.
Yeah. Yeah. That look that closely to humans either. Like, it was pretty obvious.
Yeah.
Like,
no, I'm not a fan.
Yeah. And then we go into this beautiful visual of these flowers and their irises and all of this stuff that leads us into this body that has been formed into a tree that is also filled with flowers being grown into it.
A cow's heart, which is the most common thing you would really see, is the size of a human head, whereas
a pig's heart.
Pig's hearts are actually more physically heart-shaped.
Yes.
They're, like, wider at the top.
Mm-hmm.
So neither of those would look like a human heart.
Yeah. Yeah. So Alana's a moron. All to say. So then we go over to the crime scene, and they're discussing how the body has been put together and how much thought has gone into it. And as much of an idiot as Zeller is, he does call the vines varicose vines.
He said that that there's like a surgical precision of the roots going like through the veins of the human, and he was like, yeah, he has varicose vines.
And I was like, that is terrible, but also the best thing that he could have said.
That feels like something that the Joker would say to Harley.
Yeah.
Well, like when she's or like to Poison Ivy when she's hanging out with Harley. Like, that's how bad of a joke it was.
Right. I feel like I should not have enjoyed it as much, but it was chef's kiss. And then you go through the different flowers and the parts, and so they have belladonna in the heart, chain of oleander in the intestines, and then ragwort in the liver, and they're all poisonous flowers. And so it was meant to represent that this guy, who was a congressman, was poisonous and toxic in real life.
Yeah.
And so it's, again, beautiful symbolism. Let me go back to Jack and Hannibal.
Also, did you notice this? They didn't really talk about it as much now. They talk about it later, but the tree, it wasn't like he was just in a tree anywhere. The tree was placed in the middle of a parking lot.
Yeah. I have a quote for that later.
Oh, yeah, no. They talk about it later, but also, I go back to my one problem with some of the things in this show. You're telling me nobody fucking saw Hannibal putting a full ass tree with a person in it in the middle of a parking lot?
Well, to be fair, what parking lot was it? It was in Virginia, I think.
Yeah.
And so, like, maybe it wasn't empty. Maybe it was very rural. Maybe it was, like, the corner store that people go to that closes at 8 p.m. Like, they didn't say what parking lot it was in.
It was a big-ass parking lot.
It did look like a big one.
And it's a city councilman, so it's not like they're in the middle of nowhere. You don't have city councilmen in villages.
Yeah, but maybe it was just the timing of it. I mean, somebody found it because it was reported. So it wasn't like the FBI stumbled upon it.
These are the things I told you. I pick the tiniest details that don't make sense to throw fits about.
Yeah, which is fair. It's fine. Yeah, so we're at Jack and Hannibal says that he's come to the conclusion finally. He's finally accepted that he can no longer help Will. And I was like, now? Now is when you've decided? And he also tells Jack he cannot help with the Ripper cases anymore because he can't surround himself with death as much. It's too much. And I was like, that is literally all you do, is surround yourself with death.
Yeah.
But fine. And then, of course, he ends by saying, OBT dub, I'm hosting a dinner party.
Red flag, red flag, red flag.
And Jack's face, I was like, thank God you are starting to take anything in that Will is saying. Like, we are finally getting somewhere. So we go to Will and Gideon, obviously, because we're still hanging out with Abel. And Will is upset. He's like, you should have just let him die. I don't know why you did this. Because now Hannibal's not only going to cause more, like, wreak more havoc, he is also going to kill you. Like, that's what's going to happen. And he also says that also, like, Chilton will be in danger. And he talks about all this with Gideon, like, already knowing Hannibal and doing all this stuff.
Like, why are you lying, basically?
Right. While he knows Chilton is listening. So they're going through a lot of, like, recap of what they know and whatnot.
Well, but in this, Gideon unpromptedly describes every detail of Hannibal's dining room to Will.
And so it feels very, like, prepared. I thought it was very prepared because they both know that Chilton's listening without it making it sound too much like they were just like, we're going to make stuff up, you know?
Yeah.
And so...
But see, I don't know if it was. Like, I mean, there was an element of it being prepared, but I don't know if it was prepared or if it was just that Gideon doesn't care if Chilton sees them because he still, or hears them talking about the truth, because he's going to ruin Gideon's reputation no matter, or Chilton's reputation no matter what. He honestly, I think Gideon wants Chilton to buy into Will so that he can crush him.
Oh, I think so too. I think it was more of like Will leading into the conversation once it started than like, you know, I felt like I just feel like everything he does is so purposeful right now.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, he is in a weird place right now.
And so then we do have Chilton and Jack, and Chilton says that he started believing Will about Hannibal. He's like, it all does kind of add up.
Yeah, well, and they, as they discuss this, and they both kind of like add their bits and pieces to it, Jack was like, Will is not stable right now. Mm-hmm. And Chilton says, but that doesn't mean that he's wrong.
Right.
And Jack said, no, it doesn't. And I was like, oh my God, we're actually going to get somewhere?
I know. Like, Jack's finally starting to, like, listen a little more, do a little more. It's much better. And they also talk about that the reason, like they know it's more than just murder, but also cannibalism, because cannibalism is an act of dominance.
Yes.
And so it's going to be someone that wants to be, like, in charge of others.
And they talk about how Hannibal isn't drawn to medicine or psychiatry to help people. He's drawn to it to be better than people.
Yeah, to be powerful and such. So, yeah, all adds up. And then we, of course, get another visual of Hannibal practicing his works again before we go back to the lab. And this is where they've officially identified the body as the councilman. And they're talking about it being found in a parking lot, because then Jack says, oh, so the councilman paved paradise and put a parking lot.
Yeah, so apparently this
like,
councilman, the reason he's on Hannibal's shit list / other people's shit list is because he, like, paved over a nature reserve where there was a specific endangered songbird there, and he went against EPA regulations to put up this building or parking lot or whatever. And of course that leads into the fact that Hannibal's trying to write a song right now, so he kills somebody who got rid of music. Right. And it's really just showing you just how purposeful what Hannibal's doing is. But also, I love that song.
I know. It's in the lyrics to Big Yellow Taxi. You tell me every time.
Yeah.
And then it turns out that this councilman was also not just, like, killed in the parking lot. He was drowned, and the water in his lungs can be tested to give the location of his death, which feels a little convenient. But turns out that these, like, the lake water or whatever.
No, but they do that a lot. They do that a lot when people are drowned with not tap water, because any water is going to have microbes in it.
Yeah. But I just felt there's, like, only 2 lakes that have this kind of water in it. And
well, yeah.
It's just, I don't know.
I mean, but that's how it would be anytime. That's how they pinpoint water deaths always.
Yeah, I don't know.
The science behind that one is actually not the most.
It's not the most. It just felt like they got to steps a lot faster, and normally I feel like those two did not. Like, Price and Zeller are not usually the fastest.
Yeah, but they have to be.
They don't have
Beverly's
Beverly.
not there. They have to be, but also that's their job. Like, figuring out the motivation and the weird things, like, isn't their job. Figuring out which microbes are in water, that's the part of the job that they're actually good at.
Falling apart on it lately. It's just always been someone else that figured it out.
Yeah, no, but the actual weird science part, those two are always the one who do the weird science part.
Yeah, that's true. Price gets super stoked about it.
He does.
Every time.
He reminds me of, like, every Emmy in, like, a show like NCIS or something, where they're just like really excited about the body and then, like, trying to pretend they're not really excited about the body because it's tragic, but also
right every time. So then we go to Alana and Jack, and Alana will not hear it still. Alana. So
I've decided that Alana is red-green colorblind, because every red flag she thinks is a go sign.
Yeah. Because she says she's known Hannibal for so much longer, and she knew them before anybody else knew him, and so why would he have done any of these things? And she says that she wishes Will didn't do it, but he's the one manipulating everyone. And I was like, he was not manipulating anyone until now, when he had to. Yeah. And it's not in a bad way. It's to protect the rest of the people in the world. Yeah. So it is what it is. So I was like, I don't think she's on the list to die yet, because she is the only one that is keeping people from going full in on Hannibal.
Fucking idiot.
Plus some other things that come up later. So then we go to Will, and he again sees himself growing antlers out of the top of his, like, cage that he's in, his cell. And they're bigger and less painful this time, which means that he's getting a little more used to the murdery bits of his life. And
what it means is that he's not. But I think the reason it was less painful is because Hannibal walks into the room while this is happening. Isn't that when Hannibal comes to visit him?
Yeah, that is when Hannibal.
Yeah, so, like, he's still imagining the antlers and everything, but now the pain's not on him because Hannibal's there. That's why I thought
I could see that. I thought it was because I think it's because he's getting more used to these ideas, and I think seeing Hannibal makes him more used to that, and makes him put himself in a little bit of a moral quandary. And so, but it could very well be either way. So then Hannibal comes in, And he's talking to him, and he's like, you were my friend. You understand your role in Beverly's death. Like, you realize this is all your fault. And Hannibal starts bringing up, he's like, I know you tried to kill me, and that you, like, you're in more control than you've ever been. And he's, like, going through all of this, and of course, Will's just being calmly responding in, like, the proper way, but being like, for sure you did this, I get it, but, like, I do feel bad about Beverly, all this stuff. And then, as Hannibal's leaving, he says, I'll give Alana Bloom your best.
And I screamed at the TV, that's a threat.
Yes, as it is. A little different of a threat than I anticipated, but it is a threat indeed.
Yeah, I still don't think she's in the clear.
I don't think she's in the clear today, but I think she's in. Well, I don't think she's in the clear forever, but I think she's in the clear today.
Well, obviously,
like I think she's
the episode,
but I think she's got like a couple more steps left. I don't think it's like I don't think she's next. I think she might be done for the end of the season.
I think she's useful at this moment.
Right, which is why I think it's not an immediate threat. And he's got to now kill everyone who's starting to believe Will before.
See, but I think even his emotional connection to Alana is still to manipulate Will. I think he will get even closer to her to hurt Will so that it is worse when he kills her.
Yes, I agree. I just think it's going to take a couple episodes.
Yeah.
That's all.
Well, you know. We thought Beverly had more time.
That's true too. So we go back to Hannibal, and he is cooking all kinds of people, I said. Although it turns out that's not quite the case. Because he's making prosciutto roses, and he's making all kinds of fancy meals.
For our charcuterie boards for the bachelorette party this weekend, Courtney made prosciutto roses, and Hannibal's looked better than hers. So she was like, man, I guess that must be how I messed up. I need to make them out of people next time.
Yeah, next time I have to make them out of people, and then they'll look beautiful. I did Alice in Wonderland as my theme, and so I was doing like painting the roses red. And it was good. It was prosciutto. It just didn't look like a rose, in my opinion. And so we go back to the lab in the hospital, and Gideon has gone to see Chilton and says he just keeps talking in rhymes. And so he tells him, he says, all the king's horses, all the king's men could put Humpty together again. And he's like, is everything back where I found it? And he's like, mostly. I was like, Jesus Christ. These two. These two are too much.
Yeah.
But they're a little bit of comic relief, I guess. Right. And so then we go to Gideon and Jack. And Gideon is telling Jack that he has never stepped foot in Hannibal's home because Chilton obviously relayed what he overheard. And he was like, do you want to talk to him? Do you want to, like, see what's going on? And Jack's like, absolutely.
Rose.
But then Hannibal tells him, Gideon tells him that he's never stepped foot in Hannibal's home. He's never met him before the week before. He does not know what Chilton's talking about. He says that Chilton's actually the one who told him about Hannibal's house, and he doesn't know why he gave him so much detail. And he starts talking about the attendant that Chilton hired, who obviously kidnapped Hannibal.
Yeah.
And he's like telling him, he's like, he was a patient here. Like, Chilton's the one who brought him in and hired him, and like had him do all this crazy stuff. Like, you're looking at the wrong path. And so they go to take Gideon back to his cell, and the two police officers start attacking him. And he's goading them.
He's goading them.
For sure.
He's asking them about. He literally says that the nurse that he killed when we first saw him was a slut.
Yeah.
And that when he asked her if she had eyes for him, she said no. So he had to take her eyes because it wasn't fair that she was sleeping with everyone else but not him.
Yeah.
And so to be fair, I would have also punched him in the fucking face.
Right, I also would have punched him in the face. But they like beat him and like threw him over the stairs, and we start seeing a drip into the coffee below, and it's blood.
That was so sad.
I was so scared.
I was so scared that guy was going to drink that coffee.
Yeah, he did not, thankfully. But then the body falls onto the grate above him, and that's a little more alarming.
Yeah.
And so we see that Gideon has fallen, and that's where we leave him.
Yeah.
We go to Hannibal's dinner party, and he has this like black tie affair. It's like fully staffed.
Oh yeah.
Like, there's so much
Oh,
food.
yeah.
It is a to-do. And so Jack is there, and he's watching everyone who's eating meat. He's seeing all the different, like, things, and he's trying to, like...
panicking
Yeah.
in his mind.
He's panicking, and then Chilton is also there, and he shows up, and he's talking to Jack, and he's like, well, I'm for sure not eating the food, so, you know, here we are. And then this is the first time that they use the line, Hannibal the Cannibal, in the show. And so then Jack tells him, he's like, whenever Hannibal comes over to talk to him, he's like, you know, I have to run, but I'm going to get something to go. If they'll just bring me a little container, that's totally fine, right? And you see a little bit of a panic in Hannibal's face.
Just like slight panic.
Which is to throw you off, but it's there.
Yeah.
And so Jack takes the meat products and goes about his day and goes straight back to the lab. And then we jump over to... Is this where... yeah. So we jump back to Hannibal's house, and Alana is playing chopsticks on the harpsichord, because of course she is.
Yeah.
And she tells Hannibal that Jack is treating him like a suspect, and she is just flabbergasted. She is so upset. And so they're talking about, like, she's like, I feel like I finally walked away from Will, and Hannibal's like, I've walked away from Will, like, it was hard for both of us, but we've pushed through. We've made it. And then I said, God help me if they get together. And then immediately she kisses him. And I was like, of course. And then immediately after they sleep together. So, like, there is no slowing down.
Oh, yeah, no.
It is just, and I was just so distraught. And then you see them waking up in the morning. Well, you see Hannibal waking up in the middle of the night, and he goes to the wine glass and wipes it off.
Well, first he snaps next to her ear to see if it wakes her up, and I was like, honestly, that makes sense, because if somebody snapped next to my ear, it would scare the shit out of me.
Right. And then he wipes the DNA off the wine glass, and then he goes,
which probably was drugged.
Oh, for sure was drugged. Yeah,
that's how I took that.
Yeah, okay. I mean, that's, yeah, I was gonna say that the next portion, when she didn't wake up any of the times throughout the night. But yes, so
maybe she's just like a really sound sleeper.
Yeah, that one. So we go back to the hospital, and we learn Gideon's not dead yet. He has just been beat up a little bit, and he is now in the hospital. And then, of course, our good friend Hannibal walks in the door dressed like a doctor. Bad news bears. And then we pop over to a few hours later, and the police and FBI have showed up to this man, one of the police officers, being strung up with fish lures, like some of the like people before we found with the girl's hair and whatnot. And Gideon is missing. And so we go back, and Hannibal is back in bed before Alana could notice he was gone, because theoretically he's drugged her, which is why he's wiped the wine glass down. And she wakes up, and she says, I was thinking about funerals. And I was like, this is not the time.
You were so upset by that.
I was very upset by that, because who wakes up and says, I was thinking about funerals?
I mean,
do you do that?
Yeah. Maybe not about funerals, but I will wake up and be like, wow, I had such a strange dream. And you've heard some of my dreams, so that shouldn't be surprising.
That's fine. I mean, I wake up with strange dreams, but, like, after their first rendezvous together, you'd think there'd be some pillow talk.
Well, she was doing pillow talk. She was saying that funerals make people have sex, and that they were grieving together, and that she wanted him to know that she wanted to know if this was just grief sex or real sex.
Right. That is terrible pillow talk. That is my...
They're both psychiatrists. What do they talk about for fun?
I don't know. Not that.
Okay.
It's a different approach. Maybe
I would
that's...
do it.
Well, okay. We're different people. And then, of course, he's like, well, it is funeral sex because we both buried
our
Will.
friend. Yeah.
Like, it's just how it is. And then the doorbell rings.
Okay, but this was kind of funny. He was trying to still kiss her, and he was like, the last time my doorbell rang at this hour, it was a census taker.
It was a reference to one of the movies.
Well, yeah, because it was a census taker, and he ate his liver with the fava beans and a nice Chianti. Like, I was waiting for him to say something like that because I knew it.
It was just a subtle touch.
It was just a subtle touch. It was not as subtle as it could have been.
Sure, yeah.
But, also, if a census taker showed up at my house that early in the morning, I would probably also stab him in the liver.
I would not be opening my door. They would not know I was home. There is no way.
Yeah.
But he goes down, and it is not a census taker. It is Jack.
Yes.
And they are talking about Gideon's escape because obviously now that he started believing that it is Hannibal's fault, he's checking him out. And he's like, were you here all night? Like, what have you done? Like, what's going on? And Hannibal's like, yeah, I was here all night. And he's like, can anybody corroborate that? And Alana, of course, comes down and is like, me. And I was like, screw you, lady.
Gross. Yeah.
You are all bad things. You're doing all bad things. And that, of course, catches Jack a little bit off guard. But then they move forward. But not much after that, we go back to Hannibal's house. And he, of course, does have Gideon at his home because he did take him. And he has made this very large piece of meat.
Which, it's so funny because literally, immediately, they show him cooking. Before they even show Gideon there, they show him cooking in the kitchen. I go, that's a really big piece of meat.
Yeah. And so we're looking at it and we're like, what's going on? And then he says something about not needing your limbs. And we get a pan down to, he has removed Gideon's leg and is now feeding it to him.
Oh, no, the line, it was even better than that. He said, he needed to carve he said, I need to carve the thigh. Talking about, the thigh that he just cooked. And Gideon said, I think you already have. And then it panned to his leg. And he was like, well, your limbs are useless anyway. Your back's broken. It would be a waste for you to keep your legs.
Yeah, and so then he is intending for Gideon to eat himself as his last supper, which is just the most insane
horrific thing.
And he is just so calm about it. And Gideon also pretty calm about it, surprisingly, but he's also got something wrong with him, so it is what it is.
I mean, he's also gonna die, so
yeah. And so we go back to the lab and we talk about how none of the food at the dinner party was actually human. It was all regular meat.
Very surprising to me.
Yeah, I think that Hannibal realized in his last conversation with Jack before the dinner party that Jack was starting to get suspicious. And so he was like, well, I'm going to do the exact opposite of that because this is the thing going to make him the most suspicious and then not provide any human meat. And then they're also analyzing the lures. And again, we see they're all from all the murders, Beverly, Georgia, etc. And Jack finally believes that it was not Will at this moment. And we go out to Somerville, Virginia. And Jack, as moron, is going to explore a little cabin alone.
Oh, because they said that the bark that was on the lure was only from that one place.
Right. And so he is out there in his cabin alone, not with anyone with him, in a different area. It's fine. And we're going back and forth with flashes of Hannibal practicing his piece that he's written. And Jack starts seeing pieces of floor that can be pulled up, and he opens one, and it's a well. And then he goes to another one, which is also a well, but without water. And when he opens it, inside is Miriam Lass. And when I tell you, I did not think she was dead based on everything we've had from her. We've had too many pieces of her and not enough seeing her body. This is not what I was expecting, though. No. This part caught me off guard.
Yeah.
But now Jack has found Miriam. Mm-hmm. And so the one person that he thought was his fault for dying is not dead. Probably traumatized. Not dead, though. And that is the end of the video. The end of our show. What do you think?
I'm afraid. of Jack finding Miriam.
Yeah.
Not in terms of Hannibal, but I'm nervous that Jack would be so happy to find Miriam that it would like lose the focus he already has, except for then I think back to that opening scene of the season. And so like I don't know where Jack's headspace is gonna be, and that's gonna stress me out.
Yeah, because of the first episode of the season, I had already thought Jack was gonna go off the rails.
Yeah.
I was already waiting for that. But I do believe this is the incident that has pushed him over. I think this is the one that's gonna push him to his limit. But I don't know what's next.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, because we still have, I mean, we're on episode 6. We still have at least 6, maybe 7 episodes. I don't know if it's 12 or 13 for this season. Wow. And so, we're not going to get to that fight scene towards the end.
I don't know why I thought it was only 10.
I don't know. But also, like, he's found Miriam, and, like, is she going to, like, not remember some things? Is she gonna like?
Is she gonna remember everything and be like the clue to everything?
But then that's too sudden to have everything at once, you know? Like, what happens then? Yeah. Hannibal's on the run for the rest of the next season and a half. Like,
yeah,
that doesn't feel like the next thing that's gonna happen. So I wonder if he captured her and never showed his face.
No, we already saw how he captured her.
Oh, that's right. So I don't know. I don't know what is going to happen next. I am concerned.
Yeah.
Don't worry, we don't have very many days to watch it. But it's okay. Yeah, so do you have any predictions?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't either. I do think Alana's going to die this season, but I don't think it's going to be till the end.
Yeah.
I think Gideon is probably dead soon, too. Unless he just keeps him around.
He made him eat his own leg.
Yeah, and he did say it was his last meal, but who's to say if he just keeps giving him pieces of his body until he's dead? Which would be very upsetting. But upsetting. Not too surprising. Alright, well then, who do you want to punch in the face?
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, for sure. She's also who I would have picked, because she's a moron. But because she picked her, I will pick Dr. Chilton.
Okay.
Because he's also a moron.
Yeah.
He is getting better at trying to be on the right side of things.
Yeah.
But he's doing it still in the worst way possible. So, I'm just gonna punch him.
That's fine.
Who is your MVP?
Dr. Chilton.
I see.
Yeah, I mean, he is not necessarily the smartest, but I also think there's something a little frightening about realizing how big your problem actually is.
Yeah.
And he's doing what Beverly would do. He's seeing everything that's there and being like, maybe we're wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is pretty good at that.
What would Beverly Cats do?
Well, because you picked Children, I obviously did not, but I would pick Jack. I think he's doing a great job.
Yeah.
I think he's finally, it took him a little bit, but we're getting there. Mm-hmm. Beverly kicked him over the edge. He has now found and saved Miriam Lass. I think he's done a lot of good this episode, and I'm hoping that streak keeps going. I'm hoping that he just hangs in there and keeps being brave. But yeah. Oh, I have some trivia.
Oh, good.
I've forgotten already. So, we already talked to the census taker. So when Will Graham is asking Jack about what it is that the Chesapeake River does, this is reminiscent of a conversation Silence of the Lambs, when Hannibal is trying to get Clarice to understand Buffalo Bill's motivations. When Dr. Bloom is playing chopsticks, it is an homage to the Columbo episode, Etude in Black.
Okay.
Chopsticks isn't like a million things, so I don't know why I picked this one, but that's what it says it is. And then the scene where Jack Crawford finds Miriam last in the dry well is reminiscent to when Clarice Starling finds Catherine Martin.
Yeah.
In Buffalo Bill's basement. And last but not least, the scene of Abel Gideon falling onto the cafe from the stairwell is also an homage to the elevator reveal scene from Silence of the Lambs. So we had a lot of crossovers. From
Also, it wasn't on your trivia, but I thought it was really poignant. They, in Hannibal's bedroom, when he went to go check the door for Jack, they did a really nice shot on the samurai costume.
Yeah. So, a lot of good stuff. So, if you have any other good stuff that you want to talk about, you can feel free to email us at deathandaliens@gmail.com. You can find us on all of the social media at Death and Aliens. You can find me at CECloud13.
And you can find me everywhere at EMKAY_superstar.
And we'll see you for Sci-Fi Sunday.